All right, guys, as promised, Auburn head coach Bruce Pearl joins us here at Southeastern 16. And, Coach, I know it's nice to maybe get a little bit of a break in the grind of this SEC schedule, but wanted to ask you because our first time talking this season, you've coached some special teams. And I know sometimes, other than just the individual skill, identifying those intangibles that allow a team to have the success that you guys are having so far. What are those things that you've seen as a staff that you say, this is what's allowing this team to thrive the way they are right now?
Well, boy, good to be with you. You know, I think you're right. There are some intangibles. First of all, you have to have the talent. You have to have enough bodies, enough size, enough skill. But I think what this team has showed so far is a great respect for its opponent and the ability to prepare every night because we play just a gauntlet of a schedule, and rarely have we not shown up ready to play with great effort and energy because we do respect our opponents. I think the second thing is most of us are mutts. Most of us are not purebred. Most of us are not 5-star, and there's nothing wrong with being, not being a mutt. It's just that many of us come from backgrounds where we had to overcome some things, and so I think we're a team that feels like we have a lot to prove, and we sort of go to work every single day doing that. And then the last thing is, I think they do like each other. The players like each other, respect each other, and so therefore, when it comes to playing hard and playing the right way and being unselfish, I think they sort of handle that within the framework of the locker room themselves because they have respect for each other. No man's trying to get there over the top of another man.
Bruce, congratulations on your season. You're ranked number one in the country as we're talking. You went to a Final Four in 2019, of course. But when you got there, 5 straight losing seasons before you took the job, took you a couple of years. Year 3 is when you had your first winning season. When did you suspect the things that you are accomplishing at Auburn were possible? When did you know the things that you were accomplishing at Auburn were possible?
Well, I think that, first of all, you're right. It took me 3 years, and that's what I tell people around here about Auburn football and Coach Hugh Freeze. This is going to be year 3, and he's going to get this thing turned around. And you just can't wave a magic wand. There are a lot of things that have got to be done, and foundations that need to be laid. But I think when we started selling out Neville Arena on a regular basis, that I became aware that we could create a great home court advantage, that there was real support and interest if we could be successful and play a good style of ball. And the people at Auburn came out. It was like the chicken and the egg. Which one has to happen first? We did not win first. They were coming out in the hopes that we would win, and then they helped us win. And now a ticket to Neville Arena is as tough a ticket as there is anywhere in college basketball. And because we only hold, like, let's say 8,000 or a little bit more than 8,000, our fans are now traveling because it's easier to get a ticket to watch us play on the road and even less expensive with a hotel room and transportation. So that's when I think the fan support was what told me we could do something special here.
Coach, I wanted to talk a little bit about this non-conference schedule, maybe the thought process that goes behind putting together a schedule as tough as this, and then also maybe what have you learned about this team from games like Houston, like Iowa State, like playing in Cameron Indoor, and kind of what that's done for you guys this year?
Well, we've always tried to schedule tough, and I'll give you an example. The year before, we scheduled Notre Dame, Indiana, and USC, all off of really big years the year before. It just so happened that those teams struggled a year ago, and we had no way of really knowing it. And so once again, we try to schedule tough. I want to give Matt Painter at Purdue a shout out and a thank you because he had the number 2 team in the country a year ago, and yet he was willing to come down to Birmingham and play Auburn. And we're going back up to Indianapolis next year. And Kelvin Sampson, we went down to Houston and played them early in the year. He's coming back up to Birmingham next year, kind of neutral type situations. But without those guys, looking at our program and saying, hey, I think playing against Auburn is going to be a good thing for us. I don't get those games. And Auburn never used to get those games. So that's a big part of scheduling. Obviously, we were fortunate enough to go to Maui and be in a Maui field that was as good as as every year you sort of say this, but this is the best field. When you got UConn and you got Michigan State and we got North Carolina and Memphis and Iowa State, Auburn, Colorado, it was a phenomenal field. And to go there and win that was what really got us off to a great start.
Bruce, I think Mike Burgomaster is kind of a minor celebrity with our Auburn fan base. They love the guy, and I know, again, I tweet out all the offensive numbers. Everyone talks about the offensive numbers this season, and I wanted you to speak a little bit on Mike too, because I think, again, you said earlier, this is a complete team effort, coaching staff, players, everything. And just kind of Mike's contributions as the offensive coordinator for Auburn right now, and just, again, what you guys are being able to accomplish on the offensive end of the floor so far this season.
I think there are a couple of things. First of all, I think I've got as good a staff as there is in the country, and that's just not a knock on any other staff. It's just that I feel like our guys work really hard, and whether it's Ira Bowman in player development, or Corey Williams in recruiting and player retention, or Stephen Pearl as my associate coach and the defensive coordinator. Chad Pruitt's been with me from the very beginning, and he's one of my assistants that helps us in development and a lot of different areas of a basketball court. A high school coach that that we empowered, and then Mike Burgomaster. Mike was a manager at Miami for Jim Larinaga, and I got a recommendation from one of his assistant coaches. Says, "Look, this kid's pretty good," and it didn't take me long to figure out it was pretty good. So it's kind of like being in a position to evaluate talent. Mike has that brilliant offensive mind. He's got one of the best offensive minds in basketball. And what he's done is he's taken the system that Dr. Tom Davis taught me, and within the framework of our system, has helped me continue to grow it, develop it, tweak it, update it with new concepts and things like that. I am still able to develop game plans, strategies, and a system. But one of the things that we've gone to that has been really beneficial is, like a head coach with an offensive coordinator, Mike's my play caller. And we go through pretty detailed what we want and matchups we want and what we think. And we spend a lot of time together on that. But Mike is involved very much in the sequencing. And like every head coach, I have the ability to take what he does. And if I want to wave it off because I want something else, or I could maybe say to him, "Look, this is who I'd like to go to next." And then he tells me what we're going to do. And that's how we roll. That's how we roll. And Steven has got his focus on the defense, and he's looking at what adjustments we need to make, what changes we need to make, and together, it like you said, it's a great team effort.
Bruce, I want to ask you a question about roster composition and chemistry. You have built this in a lot of different ways. You've got like Dylan Cardwell, who's been with you from the beginning. You got a guy like Miles Kelly, who comes to Georgia, from Georgia Tech to you. J.P. Pegues from Furman. Of course, Broome a couple years ago. And then you bring in like Pettiford, who could have played anywhere. So you got a lot of different things there, transfers, freshmen, returnees. And I watch your team, and it looks unselfish, and it looks like a team that loves each other. How do you get that chemistry to work? And maybe how do you screen for it in the recruiting process, particularly the portal, where your window to land a kid is not long a lot of times?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And roster composition is really important. I think part of it starts with, I've only got 12 guys on scholarship, and I haven't had 13 guys on scholarship almost since I've been at Auburn. I give a walk-on scholarship every year because I can't keep 13 kids happy. I can't make promises to 13 families and fulfill them. And even when you tell the kids the truth in recruiting, there's going to be a player or two, maybe three every year, that's disappointed that he's not playing more, not playing the role he was hoping to play. And so what happens when you do that, though, is you run the risk that I get an injury like a guy like Janai Broome, and all of a sudden I'm thin in one injury. I'm already thin. But it just makes for a better locker room. I'll give you an example. So, Jakeem Hudson was a backup at SMU that we took in the transfer portal. And I got a lot of criticism for it. So what are we doing? This kid can't even play at SMU. I said, listen, I've got Janie Johnson, Janai Broome, and Dylan Cardwell. Those three guys are going to be empowered. And Jaheim's going to come in. He's going to compete against those guys. And if he can't beat them out, he's going to be ready to come off the bench and play whatever role he's asked to play. He played 18 minutes against Georgia and played great. We don't beat Georgia without him. But if I had recruited a 5-star and paid him a bunch of money out of the NIL, then Dylan would get less. Janai would get less. Shaney would get less. And that kid's probably going to get less. And nobody's happy. So I think the lesson is less sometimes can be more. I think the other thing that we try to do is I tend to not take a lot of people's mistakes, in the sense that I don't take a lot of high major transfers, because there's a reason why they're transferring the high major, and the same problems they experience there, they're going to have here. Now, Miles Kelly would be an exception to that. He was at Georgia Tech for 3 years, and he was a soldier, and they loved him down there. And he just wanted a chance to maybe go play somewhere else and see if he could develop his 3-and-D game to become a pro, but maybe have a chance to win a little bit more. And Coach Stoudemire was great in that transition, understood, what Miles was kind of looking for. And then the last thing is you just can't overpromise. I promised, I said, look, if you want to come here, you're not going to get quite as many shots. You may not play as many minutes because you got to share it a little bit more. And Miles understood that. And I think as long as you are upfront with him in recruiting, you got a better chance to. I said, look, I learned this from Coach Summit. Coach Summit used to take her girls when she coached them pretty hard. She said, look, you signed up for this. You decided you want to be a Lady Vol. You decided you want to be Coach Hard. You decided you want to be held accountable. Yeah, I'm making you go to class. Yeah, I'm going to make you be on time. Yeah, we're going to do these things. So don't complain when I do it, because I told you I was going to do it. And that's what you said you wanted. I think those are the things that have sort of helped us with our chemistry and the character and the makeup of our team.
Coach, last one here as we wrap up. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to shine a little bit of a light on Auburn's AUTLIVE. Big game this weekend, but it's a little bit even more important. Just kind of the backstory and what it means to you in the program.
Well, thanks so much for the opportunity. That's awesome. So it's, if anybody wants to hear anything more about it, read anything more about it, it's outlive.org is how you can learn more about it. And we've been doing this since, obviously the backstory is Chris Lofton. He outlived his cancer at Tennessee, and we raised millions of dollars for the UT Medical Center through this OUTLIVE program. Obviously, the best way to outlive cancer is to detect it early. So what this is right now, it's a message to everybody listening going, go get screened. Guys, you know what you're supposed to do and when you're supposed to do it. Whether it be a colonoscopy or your prostate, your PSA numbers, or for a woman with their mammograms and different things like that. Get that little rash on your arm checked. It's probably not cancer, but you're not the doctor. Don't diagnose it. And if you detect cancer early, you will die of something else, which is important. The second thing is every penny that comes in to the Bruce Pearl Family Foundation or the OUTLIVE at outlive.org goes to a family battling cancer. In other words, it's not for research. There are a lot of cancer patients whose coverage does not cover certain kind of medications. Well, you know what? Every hospital and clinic knows who needs the money. You're fighting, you got chemo and radiation, and you're going to miss work. Well, guess what? You still got bills to pay. This money raised goes directly to families that are in financial need because they have a loved one that's battling cancer. So if anybody would like to make a contribution, I promise you every dollar sent to the Bruce Pearl Family Foundation or outlive.org will go directly to a family battling cancer. So thank you so much for the opportunity to talk a little bit about it.
Bruce, thanks for doing this. I know I've told you this before. Thanks for what you've done to support my work, our work for SEC basketball. I mean, what a time. This is the year we've all kind of been waiting for. What an incredible year for the conference. And so seriously, a huge thank you for everything you've done to sort of help support our stuff.
Well, the conference is amazing. I'm proud of the league. It's a grind, and just because we were, teams that are on top right now, they could finish someplace else. It's about matchups. It's about staying humble and hungry and staying healthy. And fan bases have been great. I'm just telling you, don't give up on your team if you not won as many games as you want to win because it's going to be. You better bring it every night. That's all I can tell you.